Welcome back to the Sports Lab podcast with my co-host Thomas Bailey and I. We have a lot to talk about today as the NFL season is finally upon us. Last night we had what could be maybe the game of the year and the Chiefs Baltimore. That went right down to the wire. Chiefs getting the win 27-20. Thomas, what are your thoughts on that game?
I thought that game was insane, man. I have Lamar Jackson for my fantasy team, so it is a little upsetting. But Pacheco is on the other side, and I have him as well, so it's awesome. But fantasy aside, amazing football game. I thought for 3/4 of it, the Ravens looked absolutely god-awful, but they kind of put it together in the fourth quarter. The Tucker missed field goal was very surprising. We don't see that from him, especially from 52. I mean, like 60, I understand. 52, almost automatic in his career from 50, like underneath 55. But either way, it wouldn't have mattered at the end, 27-20. That toe tap, if Likely's foot was one size smaller, we might be talking about the Ravens pulling off an amazing comeback at the end. But unfortunately, that is not the case for Baltimore. They start off the season 0-1, but they got to be damn proud of how they played, considering how poor that offense started, the fumble and things like that. Just the constant little screen passes were just so bad, and like it was very rough at first, but to stay in the game, to be able to stop them twice off the turnover and everything like that, and just be able to, and the turnover on downs as well, to basically hold them the field goals there and keep them in the game is what gave them that chance at the end. And they got to be very proud of how the team played, considering the adversity that they faced. Going up against the defending champs in their house to play that kind of game is absolutely amazing. So hats off to Baltimore. On the other side, Kansas City, of course, Xavier Worthy goes nuts in first game, and everyone's freaking out about it. As a Bills fan, I literally could care less. It's one game. You know who else had one good game last year? Will Levis. So moving on, you got other guys like Patrick Mahomes who threw an interception to literally wherever the hell that was. If Josh Allen throws that, the world explodes. I'm so serious. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to have something more compelling of an argument there, because realistically they should have won by 15 plus. They definitely should have had at least a 2-score win in this game, and they didn't. And that's a little concerning for Kansas City, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, I had a lot of big questions coming into Baltimore this year that I thought were kind of swept under the rug. I just didn't really understand. It was like they lost a lot of their offensive line and they lost their defensive coordinator. So the two things
Lamar was running for his life, bro.
The two things I was looking for in this game was, how is the offensive line going to be able to fare against Chris Jones? They didn't. They were bad. And how is this defense going to look against the Chiefs? And they were very sloppy. I mean, the one touchdown to Xavier Worthy was just a completely miscommunication. The safety thought it was cover 3. The corner thought it was cover 2. And
actually, I have a cool little tidbit.
Xavier Worthy left it wide open. Well, I saw on Twitter someone posted like an all 22 angle, and you could see the safety was in the middle of the field, clearly showing that it was probably going to be cover 3. And the corner thought it was going to be cover 2 for some reason. And that's where the confusion was.
The confusion actually starts with Trenton Simpson in that situation, because when Kyle Van Noy got injured, which was literally a few plays before this touchdown, Kyle Van Noy leaves the game, and the next best player for the play calling of the defense, the leader of that defense that gets the play calls and chooses what happens based off of his decisions, is Trenton Simpson, the linebacker from Clemson. So he audibled the play, and Marlon Humphrey went in motion out wide as he audibled, so he must not have heard the communication. So he still thought they were cover 2. They audible to cover 3, and that's where Worthy gets wide open up the sideline, because he thought he had the safety help still, but did not. And that's what ended up costing him. There's little things like that. But even with that, though, the Chiefs, they didn't really do much else with it. Like as sloppy as the Ravens defense was, as bad as the line played, they were right there to the end. And I don't know if that's whether or not to say Baltimore's just that good or Kansas City played that bad.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, say if Pacheco doesn't drop that touchdown, there's another 4 points on the board right there, because they end up settling for a field goal. And Lamar threw that dumb pick. That's not going to happen every game. It's week 1. There's a lot of kinks to work out. I mean, the Chiefs secondary did not look great in this game. It's just Lamar could not throw the ball down the field. If this was Josh Allen playing, I think the Bills would have won, because I think Josh Allen would have been able to really extort that Chiefs secondary it just did not look good. I mean,
throw downfield, the likely throw, he threw it too far.
I mean, yeah, there was
the middle, should have been to the left.
Yeah,
or the Flowers underthrow.
Likely literally mossed a linebacker that just stood there and watched it happen and then got juked out, and then like 3 more guys should attack him. He ran right by. It was just
Right.
and then the Rashad Bateman one when they're moving down the field. Wasn't a great throw. Rashad Bateman basically like mossed the dude. And then there was other times where the guy Zay Flowers would have the guy beat and Lamar would just underthrow and it could have just been easily an
Yeah,
interception.
like that. That's
Lamar
a
did
good
not
play.
have a good job passing the ball this game. He was
No.
electric on the ground. I will give him that. And at the end, he did clutch up at the end. He led them on the drive, but then when it mattered, Lamar couldn't make the throw. He threw one way out of bounds, almost injured Isaiah Likely. Then he misread with Zay Flowers and missed him. And then he threw another one to Isaiah Likely. Wasn't a great throw. If that was a better throw, he probably lands in bounds and catches and like
Honestly, I think the throw was great. I can't
it was
believe
great. It was
had
great.
to loft it over.
Yes, but he still threw it a little bit too far. I mean, Isaiah Likely did all he. This is me kind of nitpicking. That was a good throw,
Well, yeah.
but it wasn't an elite like Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow. These elite level passers are making that throw where the tight end can catch it in bounds. Is what I'm saying.
Or even the Flowers one, man. The Flowers one was was the worst.
Yeah, exactly. Like Lamar is an electric player. I think he's a top 5 quarterback in this league. I have him at number 4 in my QB rankings. He's not a good enough as a thrower. He can make some crazy plays, make some crazy throws. I mean, he had almost 400 yards of offense. Absolutely insane. Great game. But he lacks the ability to make that throw when it's needed and has cost his team in big games. The only reason they've ever beaten the Chiefs once is because Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled the ball when they were in scoring position. He's terrible in the playoffs. I think in his career, he's 1-2 against Josh Allen, and the one win was before Josh Allen was elite, and it was Lamar's MVP year. Since Josh Allen took that step, I think he's 2-0 against him. I think Joe Burrow's dominated against the Ravens. Like against these top level quarterbacks, Lamar just does not. He always seems to come out on the bottom of the games. And it's because he's not good enough at throwing the ball when it matters. And that really showed up. But I'm not too worried about the Chiefs, though. It's week 1. They had some kinks to work out. One thing I'm a little worried about is Travis Kelce. He did not have a good game. I understand the Ravens have really good linebackers, but they had better linebackers last year, and he had like 11 catches or whatever. And this he had 3 catches for 30 yards, which I actually called. I bet the under on his receiving yards. I'm like, I just don't see him having a good game. He's 34 years old. He's gotten worse. Like last year, he didn't even clip 1,000 yards.
Freaking with that stash.
So
stuff.
Rashee Rice has taken that step, and Xavier Worthy is a great gadget guy. I think when Marquise Brown comes back, I think he'll be good. And then Noah Gray looked good. So I think, and Isaiah Pacheco's good. I think there's the like skill positions around Mahomes got a lot better where their offense will be better this year. But Travis Kelce, I just don't think he is that elite tight end anymore. I don't know. I understand it's one game, but I was already questioning if I would put him in my top 5 tight ends. After that game, those questions didn't really go away. So I'm a little worried to see what happens.
Retires after this year. If they three-peat, I think they do.
He just said that he's got 2 good years of playing left. I've been saying I think if they three-peat, he retires, but he just said yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that he's got at least 2 good years left. So I really
not if he plays like that.
I mean, who knows?
Like,
maybe
it's just 2 catches, like
3 catches for 34 yards is what it was, and then he had a bad drop,
like a 15-yard completion.
Yeah, exactly, and then he had that one bad drop too. So I mean, it's week 1.
The game.
Yeah, it's week 1. A lot of things can change. Very sloppy, but neither of these teams look like unbeatable, like that dominant. Like it wasn't like last year where the Ravens, the regular season, like oh my god, like. And then the Chiefs were the Chiefs in the playoffs. That's why it's like they're still the best team. But neither team looked overly great. Each team has definitely got areas of weakness that can be exploited. One more thing I want to bring up to you is there's been a lot of talk on like social media and like through the media about the reffing of this game. What were your thoughts on the refs in this game?
Well, to come into the season, I understand they made their point evidently clear at the beginning where they wanted to call that flag where the lineman couldn't move as far back as normal. And that's because it kind of provides the defense an unfair advantage because the offense an unfair advantage because if he gets farther back, then he doesn't have to take those few steps and he can worry about just getting his hands on the D lineman without having to even worry about stepping back first. And with that added element, it's so hard to keep him away from like just to help block. Really, it helps block. But the only thing I didn't like is I saw Juwan Taylor almost in the exact same position 5, maybe 6, 7, 8 maybe times in this game against same spot Ronnie Stanley was in. And Ronnie Stanley got called twice for it. And it's like, if you're going to call it against the Ravens, man, you got to have that same energy with the Chiefs. And I understand, like, there was a few times in this game with where that horse, like, they pulled Flowers down. The DB pulled them down. And the ref hesitated for forever to throw that flag. Or how about at the end zone with the Pacheco touchdown? Like, they should have blown the whistle. Like, he was there for like 7, 8 seconds before they finally pushed him in. And it's like, when is the play blown dead? Like, how long?
For my fantasy team, I love that.
I have Pacheco. Exactly. I have Pacheco in my fantasy league. But still, man, like, fair is fair. And in a situation like that, that's 8 seconds.
Give me all the fantasy points I can get.
Like, literally, though, like, I don't get it. Like, maybe the refs had Pacheco in fantasy, too. They're like, just get in there. Yeah. Like, who knows? But it's rough, man. I get it's the first game, but it's the Chiefs. When you see the team in red, it's like, do I throw the flag? Do I not throw the flag? Do I throw the flag? Do I not throw the flag? And you can't help but wonder if it's some sort of thing like that. And it's like, it's so annoying because, man, they called it so many times on the Ravens, but not like one time on the Chiefs. And it's like, come on, dude. Come on.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. I saw someone on Twitter, Kurt Benkert. He was basically like, the Chiefs are already a good enough team where they don't need the refs' help to win. They can win games on their own. Like,
they had that drive where they literally scored in 4 plays because of that horse collar tackle.
Yeah, they don't need the refs' help for them to win. All we are asking for, we're not saying, oh, the refs are the reason the Chiefs won. No, they're good enough where they could have won without like the lopsided refereeing. We just want it to be called fair. It was like a 70-30 in the Chiefs' favor. I mean, you mentioned those, and that doesn't even mention that timeout Steve Spagnuolo was able to call, which should have been at least a delay a game penalty, in my opinion. Like, that was an illegal. Like, how does he do?
I completely forgot about that.
Of course, he gets away with that. And that was right before the half when they were in the red zone. Like, that could have been a touchdown there. So it's just very frustrating for a team that good to get all of these to go their way. And then you'll have Chiefs fans on Twitter be like, well, actually, the Chiefs were called for more penalties than their opponents. But it's not about just the total number. It's about when it happens. And, like, it just always seems to be in the big moments or the important
like the roughing the passer call on Madubuike. Bro, I'm telling you, he was moving too fast to stop. You can't stop.
No, I think it was more so it looked like his hands were up like towards his face more. And that's like an instant call every time. It looked like his hands were like right here. And no, I get if he pushed him down, but like in the chest, and they called it, yeah, that's awful. But his hands were a little bit higher. I can see with how but that one's weird. Iffy, but I'm not as mad at the refs for that just because it was like more hands up in the face.
Right.
But
like at the end of the day, they still got away with so much. And like the whole crowd goes nuts wanting a flag. I was surprised they didn't throw the flag on the one where Mahomes ran out of bounds and they pushed it like Roquan Smith hit him by accident. Like,
that was a terrible call. That should have been a penalty for sure.
No, because if you look closer, the DB tripped and he jumped over the DB. He had no choice. It was either step on his player or jump over the DB.
No, that's a flag. Even if it's accidental, he was still far out of bounds. That is 100. That is the definition of a late hit. Even if it's accidental, you don't always mean to hit the guy, but that's still a penalty. Just because you did it accidentally doesn't mean it's not a penalty.
Right, I guess. But one thing I want to mention before we move on would be likely absolutely freaking pancaking George Karlaftis, bro. I literally watched that back 6 times. I was like, oh my God. And then the touchdown reception.
Moving on, though, tonight we at 8:15 in Brazil, we have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers. What are you looking forward to in this game?
Realistically, I'm just looking for more football, obviously. But, I mean, if you wanted me to pick something specifically, I would be looking at the defenses in this game. I think that the defenses are the weak spots of these two teams. Last year, especially the Philadelphia Eagles at the end of the year, they absolutely collapsed in the secondary. So it's going to be interesting to see how Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean do to help their chances this year. Do they start off the year as good as they started last year, or do they start off the way they ended last year? So that's the big question for Philly. And on the other side here, how does the additions to the pass rush and the secondary help for Green Bay here? Does Edgerrin Cooper really make that much of a difference in the linebacking core? Does Xavier Xavier McKinney get going early on? Like Javon Bullard, obviously the rookie safety from Georgia. Like, how are they going to fare in this kind of a game? Is it going to be a really good game for them? And one matchup that I think is going to be absolutely killer, not because I have Devontae Smith for my fantasy, but Devontae Smith against Eric Stokes is not exactly what I would be like looking forward to if I'm a Packers fan. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I'd be terrified right now because I think that you're going to get cooked. And like, that's a big problem for them. So again, it's just going to be how that defense can fare. Another one little tiny thing is Josh Jacobs. I just want to see how Josh Jacobs does with a new team, especially a team that lost an offensive lineman, John Runyon, and David Bakhtiari. You know, like I don't know, like if he's got it anymore, things like that. So realistically, they have Zach Tom and Elton Jenkins holding that piece like literally by super glue. They're holding it together, but we'll see how it goes for this year. I'm excited to see if Jacobs can get going early, and then the young receivers, how they click with Love in year 2.
I'm looking forward to seeing this running back battle. I mean, you have two running backs, both drafted in 2018 in the first round. Both were on kind of dumpster. Wasn't Jacobs in 2018?
2019, because it was the Cleveland Farrell year. They had 3 firsts, the Raiders did.
Why did I think it was 2018?
Because they literally Farrell and then Arnett and then him.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why my mistake. 2 running backs drafted to dumpster fire organizations. They finally get their way out and sign big contracts this year in free agency. Both to 2 very good offenses. This should definitely be the best offenses both running backs have played in with Saquon in Philly and Josh Jacobs and Green Bay. So I'm excited to see how these running backs who got a lot of money and are highly regarded as some of the best backs in the league, how they perform on their new teams. Also, I have bets on both of them, and I have Josh Jacobs in a couple fantasies. So definitely rooting for big games. I mean, I think I got like some anytime touchdowns for Josh. I have like over on rushing and receiving for Saquon and like different bets and stuff. So I'm obviously looking forward to my bets hitting, but I'm just excited for more football. Like you said, I think this game should be a really good game. I have the Eagles winning in a high scoring game. I think I'm going to go 31-28.
I have 27-24 Philadelphia winning as well. I think this game is going to be a lot of similar to that Chiefs game where we're going to see a lot of like the mistakes and they're going to end up stalling on a few drives. We're going to see a couple field goals in the mix here, I think, for Jake Elliott and Tucker, Anders Carlson, I think. Is that still who their kicker is? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But yeah, realistically, I think that's what this game's going to come down to is a couple sloppy mistakes near the end. I think the Eagles will start off a little sluggish, I know, but I think both teams piece it together, and it's going to be a fair game, 27-24. And real quick, 24-17 was my prediction for the Chiefs game, bro. And I think
mine was 23-20.
I was so close to getting it right.
I got the Ravens score right. I think mine was 23-20. I got the Ravens score right.
My friend Owen, right before the game, he told me, I think it's going to be around 27-20. I think your score is nice, but I think it's a little higher. And then literally that's what the score was. He wrote it down too, so yes.
That's fair. But moving on to NFL news, there was a couple of contract extensions that were signed today with the Miami Dolphins signing 29-year-old cornerback Jalen Ramsey, about to turn 30 in October, to the highest paid corner in the league, a 3-year, $72.3 million contract, $24.1 million per year to outpace Patrick Surtain's $24 million a year. And then Pat Freiermuth signed a 4-year, $48.4 million contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then the big one for us Bills fans is Spencer Brown signed a 4-year deal. The numbers haven't been reported yet on what the actual numbers are around.
Oh, I got the numbers. It's like 4.8 mil
per year.
No, 1.2 a year. I swear.
No, there's no way. There is no way.
I saw it everywhere. Everywhere, bro.
No. I'm gonna look this up. There is no way that's what we got him for. If we do, that's like the big. I was expecting him to sign like 12 mil a year. There's no way we got him for 1.2 mil a year.
Unless that was his rookie contract or something.
That had to have been his rookie contract because I haven't seen any numbers reported. Even the dude that reported like the original signing. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I guess. Yeah, no, that's my fault. That is completely false.
Yeah, the
That'd
numbers
be
have not
insane.
been
I almost
reported.
had a heart attack when I saw it earlier. I was like, oh my
My
God.
guess is somewhere in the like 50 to 60 million dollar range, with probably like 30 to 40 million guaranteed, all the guarantees up front. That's what I'm
I like
hoping.
that
If
though.
it's like,
15 mil's not
say
bad.
it's like 4 by 52. So that's
52, so
13
13.
mil a year, and then 30 mil guaranteed. So the first 2 years at 26 mil a piece, or you even actually front loaded a little bit. The first year he gets paid 15 mil fully guaranteed. Then the next year he gets paid 15 mil again fully guaranteed. And then the last 2 years you're at 11 mil each, not guaranteed at all. Like,
Right.
and then so if you can get out, or
Yeah.
maybe the second, or maybe even the third year, you add some guarantees or whatever. And then the fourth year, not, because we have a lot of cap space where you might as well front load the contract some, because
Right.
because
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, we're going to have money to make some moves next year, but we have a lot of our team like returning, like we're bringing back all of our starters. So we're probably only going to make like one or two big moves if we make anything. And we'll have plenty of cap space to do that. So you might as well front load some of these contracts now. So then in a couple of years, when we have to start giving out extensions to James Cook, Keon Coleman, Terrell Bernard, Dalton Kincaid, Christian Benford, and then Josh Allen's new contract, we will have the money to be able to afford these contracts, instead of how the last time we went around this, we backloaded everything and then we got ourselves in cap hell. Luckily, Bean was able to get us out of it, but I don't want to deal with that again. But moving on to the Buffalo Bills, for the game, they faced the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday at 1 p.m. The injury report, Javon Solomon was already ruled out, and then it was Dwayne Smoot was did not practice today. He's questionable. This was a new injury to the report. Everyone else that was on the injury report practiced in full basically all week. They don't have game status. So it's Solomon out. Smoot's probably out. So now we're only down to 4 defensive ends with AJ Epinesa, Greg Rousseau, Von Miller, and Casey Tuhill. What are your thoughts on the injury report? Are you a little scared that we're down 2 defensive ends?
I am not at all. I think that yes, we were a rotation committee last season and things like that. But honestly, I think Rousseau and Epinesa can play most of the snaps. I feel like they will. I think Von Miller can get in there on a third down pass rush if we really need it. But I don't even think Tuhill touches the field, to be honest, without an injury happening, which, knock on wood, hopefully doesn't happen. But basically, I'm not really too worried about that. One thing I would be more concerned about is going to be how the linebacking core holds up with Dorian Williams starting instead of Maulano, obviously, because of, big news for that. But honestly, I think that'd be the more big concern for me right now.
Okay. And then on Wednesday, the Bills announced that they're only going to have 2 captains this year, and Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard. Last year we had 8. 6 of them not on the team this year, which would be Stephon Diggs, Mitch Morse, Gabe Davis, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, and
Tre'Davious White.
And Tre'Davious White. Yes, those were 6 captains. And then Von Miller is returning to the team, but he's not a captain this year. So yeah, we have 2 captains, and then Sean McDermott said there'll be a leadership council of about 10 guys below those 2 captains. What are your thoughts on this approach?
I mean, I like it. I think offense, defense are the 2 main things of the game, of course. So one of each, it makes a lot of sense. I feel like it'd be weird to have like an imbalance. Like if you throw in a Dawson Knox, who I've seen a lot of people saying can definitely get there. And believe me, I think Dawson Knox is a great guy. He definitely could be a captain for this team. It's just with the way their approach is that they want to have 1 and 1 because they don't have 2 and 2. Basically. So there could be another guy in the secondary like Rasul Douglas they could give the captaincy to on defense, maybe. Who knows? But like maybe they don't like anybody on offense for a candidate. Or maybe it's the exact same thing, just the opposite way. Who really knows? But I like the approach. I think it's fair. I mean, realistically, it's not that big of a deal to look into for the season and stuff. Obviously, it's not like that crazy thing, but you're always going to have leaders regardless, just veteran leaders like a Von Miller, like a Dawson Knox, like those kind of players. They don't need the C on their chest to prove that they're a veteran player that knows what they're doing and can be a leader. So realistically, I think it's kind of a dead argument, but I really don't mind it. I think it's a nice decision.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, especially – I like the leadership council he's having of like 10 guys. So it's not just 2 guys in leadership roles and that's it. Because I feel like for a roster and then the practice squad and how many people around the building. I feel like having only 2 guys total, not smart, but having this leadership is like a second tier. So if someone has a problem on the team, they don't have to go directly to like Allen or Bernard, who are already going to have enough on their plates this year, being like main dogs in the team. They can go to one of these leadership guys and try and get it like resolved before it becomes a thing. The only gripe I guess I would have is I kind of wish Reed Ferguson would have gone it. He has been a captain in years past. He's a very likable guy. And then, yes, then we would have had a special teams guy, but it's not a big deal because special teams obviously is only such a portion of the game. So I'm not too worried. I do like this approach, though. I think they're trying something new. We've had 8 captains in the last couple of years and haven't been able to win a Super Bowl. So might as well. We've been shaking things up all offseason. We might as well continue with captains and got to try something new because obviously what we have been doing hasn't been working. So might as well. And then on the game on Sunday, the Bills are 6.5-point favorites against the Cardinals. What is one thing you're looking forward to on offense to see out of this Bills team?
I'm looking forward to that connection with Josh Allen and the new receivers. I think that's one thing everybody's going to say. I think that Josh Allen's connection with Kincaid and Cook is already there. Cook can already run the ball, in my opinion. I think he'll be solid in that department. I'm more so worried about the new additions of the Curtis Samuel, seeing Khalil Shakir getting a bigger role, the Mac Hollins, all these different guys, and seeing how the offense actually shapes together and how we utilize these players. Like the Chiefs used Worthy on those gadget plays. Are we going to do the same thing with Samuel? Are we going to have are we going to have like throws where we're going to throw one up to Keon Coleman? Are we going to throw him a fade maybe? Who knows? Like, what kind of offense is this actually going to be? Yes, we've heard all throughout camp that we're going to utilize these guys. I just want to see finally in an actual game that matters how.
One thing I'm looking forward to the most is I think has been very under talked about is the interior offensive line. I want to see the growth of O'Cyrus Torrence, which I expect him to take a leap. I mean, he was the best rookie guard in football last year. I expect that to only get better. But what I'm really looking forward to with that left guard center role, we have a new person at center. We have a new person at left guard with Connor McGovern moving over to center with the departure of Mitch Morse and David Edwards taking his spot. I'm looking forward to seeing how that interior opens up for the run game, because we know how much Joe Brady likes to run the ball with James Cook. And Arizona, this is a very good matchup for us to get that run game figured out, because Arizona, I think they were the worst run defense in football last year. So, this is a game James Cook should be able to eat in. So I'm excited to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing is can these linemen open up holes for James Cook? Because I really think if we aren't going to be able to get a run game going, I don't know if we don't have the I like our receivers, but we don't have like the Cincinnati receiver room or like the Miami receiver room where we can just go spread offense and just throw it all over the field. We need to be able to run the ball, play action, short plays. That's how our offense is built. So it really comes down to, will we be able to run the ball with this new offensive line? So I'm really looking forward to that. What is one thing you're looking forward to on defense?
Well, it's not a specific player like most people would choose. I think the specific thing for this game I'm looking forward to is how the defense gets called, how we call plays, things like that. Because realistically, with the injuries, with all the new additions, all the losses in the offseason to the safety and secondary and just everything in general, really, how are we going to look on defense? Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to blitz a lot more? Are we going to sit back and play that cover 2 like we did normally? Are we going to play that man-to-man coverage? Like, how are we going to block Trey McBride, like the tight end? What are we going to see for that? I think Trey McBride's a very underrated tight end in the NFL. I think potentially he could have a better year than Kelce right now with how Kelce's looked so far. There's a chance that Cardinals are going to utilize him a ton, and he's going to be that main focal point. How are we going to be able to shut him down? Because that's going to be the same blueprint for if we play a Travis Kelce or a Mark Andrews in week 4. How are we going to be able to shut down the tight end? And that's something else I'm looking forward to. I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing how this new look defense is going to shape up and what we're going to mainly call here on defense.
For me, I'm most looking forward to Dorian Williams. I mean, he was a rookie last year when he was forced to play in the few snaps he did. He showed a lot of flashes. He's extremely athletic, has high upside, but he looked kind of lost out there. He made plays because of his athleticism, but he just, I don't know. He didn't look like, his football IQ just seemed kind of low. So I'm wondering to see a full year in this McDermott system, working with Bobby Babich, who did wonders with these linebackers. I mean, with Bernard and Milano. Tyrell Dodson was here. So I wonder what kind of work he's done with Dorian Williams. And this is a big test for him. You got a tight end like McBride, that you already mentioned, but then you also have a running quarterback like Kyler Murray, which falls a lot on the linebackers because, I mean, you got QB spies, or if they're even just in a zone in the middle of the field and then Kyler rolls out, you got to be able to know, okay, I got to move over and take this corner's zone, or I got to move up and attack the quarterback. Like, depending on how the defense is set, the linebacker could have many different roles when Kyler starts to run. So I'm excited to see how he is able to process that, because we know Kyler's going to be running a lot. The Cardinals don't have a good offensive line, and I think our D-line is still pretty good. So I'm excited to see how Dorian Williams plays, and as he is basically his first career NFL start and a very mixed bag rookie season he had last year.
Fair enough.
Who would you say is your X factor for this year?
For this year?
Or my bad, I meant for this game.
Oh, I was going to say for the year, I might pick Rousseau. For this game, I'm thinking on offense, it's got to be Allen. I think Allen's going to be what makes the offense flow. If it's not, like, if Allen doesn't click with the receivers, this offense is not going to be that great. I think that we'd have to rely a lot on the run game, and obviously after a certain extent, they're going to understand what we're doing. So I feel like Josh Allen's going to be the X factor. I think he's going to be the X factor for 90% of this season. Like, none of these big games. If we didn't have Josh Allen, we would never even have a chance against a team like the Ravens, the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Lions. So I do think that that's a really big thing, something that's very important. And with that being said, I think Allen's the guy.
For me, I wouldn't say Allen is the X factor because we know what Allen brings to the table. I would say the X factor is going to be Dorian Williams. How is he going to be able to handle against Trey McBride? How is he going to be able to handle against this rushing duo of James Conner and Trey Benson? How is he going to be able to handle when Kyler scrambles out of the pocket? I really think that if he struggles a lot, Arizona could score a lot of points on our defense if that middle of the field. Like, Bernard's going to be Bernard, but like if Dorian Williams has struggled and they just start attacking him, that could lead to some troubles for this defense. So I think if he steps up and plays really well, I think we could kind of run away with the game. But if he struggles some, I think Arizona is going to be able to stay in it, and they have some weapons where, not going to say it, I don't think it's going to happen, but they could pull off the upset. They have the talent. I mean, if we don't play our A game, it is possible. But leading into that, what is your score predictions for this game?
31-17. I think Buffalo runs away in the second half. I think to start the game, we're going to start a little sluggish. Allen didn't play much during preseason. I think that connection is going to take a little time to build up. I think James Cook's going to get going and get us the ball down the field, and it's going to help us kind of start the second half off with a lot of plays where I could see us probably only 10 points in the first half. In the second half, we just explode for 21. But I do think that we win this game 31-17. I do think that they give our defense a little bit of a fit with the running duo of James Conner and Kyler Murray, kind of opening up the pass game for Marv and Trey McBride. So I do think that they're going to have a solid game on offense. 17 points is pretty fair to me for them. I don't know about that offensive line yet. I'm very nervous for them considering Ed Oliver exists. Ed Oliver is probably going to be in that backfield every 3 seconds. So I guess we'll see how this game goes. And then their secondary, realistically, I don't think they hold a candle to any of the receiving options. So if there's a game for the receivers to struggle, it's going to be this one.
That's fair. I'm going to go with 27-20 Buffalo. I think Arizona and their hype. I think their offense is good enough to keep them in the game. And I think our offense, and kind of like what you said, I think we're going to be a little sluggish in the first half. I think there's going to be a little bit of rust, some kinks to work out in this game. Luckily, we're facing a bad defense, so this is a game where we can really work out those kinks to get ready for Thursday night against Miami. But I expect it. I expect Josh to be fine. I'm just a little worried. I think we win this game. I'm not saying I'm not too worried about us winning the game or whatever. I'm just a little worried on how this offense is going to be because there is so much new, and Josh Allen barely played in the preseason. A lot of our starters just didn't play that much. So this is kind of like most of it, like their first real action together. So I think they will start off a little bit slow, but at the end of the day, we have Josh Allen, and that's what matters. Right. Moving on to the Sunday slate, a lot of 1:00 games. A lot of them, honestly, don't look like they're going to be great games. Some of them might be pretty decent, but we're going to start off with probably the most unexciting game of the week, the Bengals versus the Patriots.
Right. I have 31-10. I very well think that this game could be 24-10. I was struggling to determine whether they get that last touchdown. Because I know week one's not exactly Burrow's best week. Normally he comes out, starts a little sluggish. I feel like that's going to be consistent for this game. And I think if there's any good part about the Patriots, it's that defense. I think Gerard Mayo is going to have a solid unit this year. I don't think they'll be terrible, but I think they'll be all right. A little loss of Judon definitely makes me lean for the 31 more, obviously. But I do think that the Patriots offense is going to be the reason why they lose this game. They're not going to have a good game at all. I think maybe they don't even get the touchdown. Maybe it's like 24-3 is something else that could happen. But I think that Cincinnati runs away with this.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati runs away with it. I'm going to go 24-6. I was going to say like they're going to score in the 30s. I was going to say I think they're going to score in the 30s, but T. Higgins is doubtful with a hamstring injury, and Jamar Chase is questionable. And if he does play, they said he's probably not going to play all the snaps. I mean, he'll be able to. He'll be in for important plays, red zone, third down, most likely. I think he'll still be able to eat, but him not being in the entire game and T. Higgins probably not playing, they're going to be relying on a lot of those young receivers, Andre Yoshevich, Jermaine Burton, and we haven't really seen that much out of them. And as you said, Burrow struggles a lot, and usually the first game of the year. So I expect this to be a low scoring, but New England's offense is going to be dreadful this year. So even though I don't think Cincinnati's defense is going to be that great this year, they're going to look great against New England's offense. It's going to be that bad. So yeah, I think 24-6. The next game we have probably going to be the lowest scoring game of the week, in my opinion, the Vikings versus the Giants.
Yeah, I have this one being 14-10 in the Giants' favor. I think in a game like this, it's back and forth. I think the only thing that really is going to separate them is the thing that matters the most to me in the NFL in games like this is the defense. And I think that the Giants have by a mile better defense than the Vikings do. And that's not to crap on Andrew Van Ginkel, who they signed, or even Byron Murphy, who they ended up getting in free agency. So it's nothing like that. It's just they have an insane front seven. You got Dexter Lawrence, you have Kayvon Thibodeau, you have off the edge there. Who am I forgetting? Brian Burns, they just acquired for a second and a fifth from the poverty that is the Panthers franchise. So realistically, to have all of that add up into this game, Sam Darnold's not going to be able to throw the ball to the only thing that's going to keep the offense going. And I think realistically, if they have the capability to stop Aaron Jones, this game's over. I don't think Sam Darnold can throw with the pressure that's going to be given against him for 90% of this game. And if Aaron Jones doesn't find some good run lanes, I think that the Vikings are going to have their hands full with this Giants defense. And I think it ultimately, just as bad as Daniel Jones is, I think that if he gets enough chances, they'll score at least 1 or 2 touchdowns. So a 14-10 win is very fair to me.
Give me 17-10 Vikings, and I really only have 2 words for why I think the Vikings win. Justin Jefferson. I mean, this dude is insane. I mean, he is the best receiver in football. In my opinion,
man, I hope you're right.
In my opinion, he is the second best player in football behind Pat Mahomes. I mean, what can't this dude do? I mean, he can be good in the short game, intermediate. He can run screens, yards at the catch, can moss you, is a deep threat, great route runner. I mean, he's just elite at basically every aspect of being a wide receiver. And I just think he was eating last year with Nick Mullins as his quarterback in the last. He had over 1,000 yards in 9 games, and half the games were spent with Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs, and he was still eating. Now he's got Sam Darnold, who was. I believe in Sam Darnold more than I believe in Josh Dobbs, which tells you no, I do not believe in Josh Dobbs. So I just think he is going to eat. I like Deontay Banks. He showed some flashes, but not week 1 against Justin Jefferson. He is going to get cooked. Doesn't matter who they put on Justin Jefferson. Double team him. It doesn't matter. He's going to beat you.
I think it's going to be that meme where with Penei Sewell blocking for Burrow, and then they can throw it to a nobody receiver, and then the shitty O lineman, and then throw it to Chase.
Tackled
before he can even throw it, and that's what I'm saying.
And then next we have I would say one of the more exciting games of the 1 p.m. slate. We have the Tennessee Titans taking on Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears.
So a lot of people might disagree, but I have the Chicago Bears winning 21-13. I've seen so many
They're
people
favored.
picking the Titans for this game. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I don't know why, but so many people have been picking the Titans. Everybody I've talked to pretty much has picked the Titans.
Hmm?
I can't see it, man. I just can't see that happening. I think the Bears defense is much improved from last year. I think they're going to have a solid game against Will Levis. And yes, I understand they have Calvin Ridley. They got Tyler Boyd. They now have Chidobe Awuzie and L'Jarius Sneed on defense. Ernest Jones they brought in. Yes, they have so many new additions. It's just with Will Levis at quarterback, I don't know how good he's going to be this year. I don't think he's going to be terrible, but I do think that the Bears defense is going to be able to keep them at bay for most of this game. I think that the Titans are going to have one of those drives where they get down really close to the end zone and then they're going to have to settle for a field goal. I think it's just going to be the lack of aggressiveness that catches them in this week 1 game. And on the Chicago side, I do think that they're going to struggle a little bit. I think the first half they could probably only end up with 7-10, but I think that they're going to end up winning this one 21-13. It's very close for me, but I do think Caleb Williams is that X factor in this one.
Give me also the Bears, but give me in a much more high-scoring game. Give me Bears 31-20. I really like both offenses. I think Will Levis is an underrated quarterback. He's just in a loaded AFC, so he's not going to get talked about. I mean, they have some weapons: Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, D Hop. Even though D Hop's playing with a torn MCL, as insane as that is, the O line's improved. Peter Skoronski. I can't remember who they just drafted in the first round. That tackle out of Bam. J.C. Latham, tackle / guard. They signed a center in free agency who's a stud.
Nicholas Petit-Frere at the guard spot too.
I think it's Lloyd Queshenberry. I think maybe was the center they.
Yes, that's the guy they signed.
Yeah,
yes.
And he looked good in preseason. Chigi Okonkwo's decent. I mean, Brian Callahan's the coach, and I mean he's an offensive minded guy. So I think they'd be able to put up some points, but that defense does not inspire me at all. I mean, it's Jeffrey Simmons and who else? That's basically a bunch of.
Sneed?
Oh, my bad. I forgot about L'Jarius Sneed. Jeffrey Simmons, L'Jarius Sneed, and who else?
Ernest Jones.
Chidobe Awuzie. Okay.
They're okay options. They're not terrible.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I'm not all things Tennessee Titans, so I kind of forgot. But all right. So they have a couple of good players. They don't have anyone else in that D-line that inspires me. They don't have a linebacker next to Ernest Jones that inspires me. They don't have a safety that inspires me. They don't have a slot corner that inspires me. And Chidobe Awuzie I guess he'll be good with L'Jarius Sneed locking down one side of the field. But I just don't like their defense that much. So, but I really love the Bears offense. I think Caleb Williams is going to come in and be a stud. I mean, throwing Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze,
Keenan Allen was questionable though.
And he's always questionable. An improved offensive line, Cole Kmet. I mean, that defense has got a couple of players: Jalen Johnson, Montez Sweat.
They signed Gerald Everett too.
Yeah, and then you also have the linebacking duo of Tremaine Edmonds, even though I don't like him, isn't an awful player, and then TJ Edwards is a stud. So they got some players on that side of the ball at home. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
31-20 Bears. The next game we have is the Carolina Panthers versus the New Orleans Saints.
Well, I think this is another one of those lower scoring games. I'm going to go 17-9 in favor of the New Orleans Saints for this one. I think Dennis Allen, being a defensive-minded head coach, it just signed Chase Young. You have Demario Davis. You have Paulson Adebo, who I think is turning into a decent corner. Marshawn Lattimore, who I think is still solid. And you got Cameron Jordan, who's always relentless off the edge. I do think that their defense is going to have a solid game against the new look Panthers offense. I really don't like their right tackle situation still. I do like the Ikem Ekwonu. I think he's great. And then the signings they made in the draft pick with Robert Hunt. And then who did they draft? The center there. I can't remember his name.
You don't like Taylor Morton?
He's a guard.
Taylor Morton.
Taylor Moton.
I thought Taylor Moton was
actually, if he's the right tackle.
Let me look at the Panthers.
Actually, he might be, but I don't know. But against Chase Young and Cam Jordan still, though.
I think Taylor Moton is a stud. All right, so they got Ekwonu as the left tackle, Damian Lewis is the left guard. Maybe that's who you're talking about. Austin Corbett's the center. Maybe. That's also kind of a. But I really love that right side of the line.
That right side is
really good. Robert Hunt, Taylor Moton.
Right.
That is the left side. Left side. I got
how
some
questions. How is Ekwonu going to fare against either Chase Young or Jordan? I don't really like that. I think Demario Davis is the best linebacker they've got. I think he'll be solid in the middle there. I really don't think that this Panthers offense is going to be that great this season. So 9 points here. I think they get a couple drives where they could get down in and then get a field goal. I feel like this is going to be one of those games where the Saints defense bends but does not break a few different times. And I could definitely see 17-12. Like, I could see it 4 times, maybe even 5 times happening where the Panthers just get down there, just can't finish the job. And I'm very iffy on if the head coaching is going to be good with Dave Canales and stuff like that. I do think that he can turn Bryce Young into a solid player, but on the Saints offensive side of the ball, I think that their offense is solid. I think that Chris Olave is going to be the guy that eats a lot in this game. I think that Rashid Shaheed, did he leave? I'm not sure.
No, he's still there.
Yeah, Shaheed. So I do think that they'll be fine. I don't think that the tight end situation wows me at all. Obviously, they didn't get anybody insane, so we could see how that goes. And then the offensive line's solid at least, so I think Derek Carr will be all right. Without Ryan Ramczyk, that kind of scares me though. So I do think that they're going to win this one.
I gotta go. Just a second. I gotta get a new headset.
Oh. Ooh.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello?
Hello?
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, my AirPods died. All right.
Oh, no, you're good. It's your side, Panthers, Saints.
Yeah, so I have the Panthers and the upset here. As I've talked about, I think the Panthers are better than the media is bringing it out to be. I really love Dave Canales. I think Bryce Young is an underrated quarterback. I think he's going to be good. I love the additions to the line they made. That right side is pretty good. I think Deontay Johnson's a stud. I think Xavier Legette's an upgrade over Jonathan Mingo. Tight end room still not great. Chuba Hubbard's all right, but I think Dave Canales, he revived Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield's career, and they weren't thought of as great quarterbacks. They were thought of as actually pretty bad before he got his hands on them. So I think Bryce Young's got more potential than either of them, and I think he is going to have a better year. And I also am extremely low on the Saints. I think they suck. Their defense is decent. That offense is going to be bad. So, but I think the Panthers defense is bad, so I think they still manage 17 points. So yeah, give me 23-17 Panthers. The next game I have Pittsburgh, Atlanta.
I have 23-10, the Falcons winning this one with the questions of if Wilson will play. I think he does inevitably start. I just don't think he's going to play good. He's not going to be able to move around in the pocket, and that line is not convincing me of anything good. You got Judon and Grady Jarrett pass rushing there, and Ruka Horo, the rookie from Clemson as well. So we'll see how he does. I do like Braylon Trice off the edge if he was playing. Unfortunately, he's not. I do think that this is going to be a solid game for the Falcons. They're going to show why they're a decent team. I think that they are going to have some offensive capabilities that people are underrating. I do think Kyle Pitts has a solid game at the very least, and I do think that Drake London kind of shows why he's been proven to be a breakout candidate this year. I think that Bijan Robinson eats, and I really like their offensive line, and that's where I'm going to go with.
I also have the Falcons winning this game. I'll go 20-13. I think Pittsburgh has a really good defense, and Kirk Cousins coming off torn Achilles. See their offense starting out a little slow. I mean, they got so many weapons. They'll still be able to score some. I really like the offensive coordinator. I actually don't really know much about him other than he was the Rams QB coach. And when has that ever been a bad choice? So, I mean, basically anyone you ever take from the Shanahan-McVay tree ends up being an offensive mastermind. So I don't see it stopping now. I mean, it's like 100% success rate on that. So I really like that. I think they're going to, but Pittsburgh does have a really good defense. This is a tough week 1 schedule or week 1 game for them offensively. Defensively, I mean, you got Justin Simmons, AJ Terrell, Matt Judon, Grady Jarrett against that pitiful Pittsburgh offense with Russell Wilson, who sucks and isn't even healthy, a bad offensive line, a receiving core behind George Pickens, who sucks, Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, all right. Pat Freiermuth, good, but not a lot. So, yeah, 2013. The next game, which will probably be the highest scoring game of the 1 o'clocks. We got Miami versus Jacksonville.
Dang it, you called it. 35-31 is my score prediction for this game in favor of Miami. I do think that this is going to be the high-scoring game. This was reminding me a lot of the Dolphins-Chargers Week 1 game from last season, where I think that the the Jaguars defense is not going to be able to keep up with the Dolphins. And then I also think that the Dolphins defense won't be able to keep up with the Jags high-flying offense either. I do not like the Dolphins defense that much this year. They lose Christian Wilkins. They lose Van Ginkel. I mean, yeah, you got Ramsey, but I think he's washed. I'm very happy they signed with the $24.1 million. That's bad to me, but that's for another day. I do think that they're going to be decent in the secondary outside of him with Javon Holland still capable starting safety as well. I really like him out of Oregon. So I think they'll have an all right game. They'll be able to get more stops, I think, than the Jaguars will, and I think they'll win this one in an absolute barn burner, a shootout to the end, 35-31.
Yeah, give me Miami also 34-30. I think it's going to be points galore in this game.
Okay,
I
bro,
mean,
1 point less than me.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. 34-30. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence has a bounce back year. He was battling so many injuries last year, and the offensive line wasn't good. They made some improvements to the O-line. They made improvements to the receiving core. I think Brian Thomas Jr. this year alone will probably be better than Calvin Ridley. And even though I don't like Gabe Davis, he is an upgrade over Zay Jones without a doubt. So I think the receiving core is better this year. Travis Etienne still a stud. Evan Ingram still a stud. That defense, I mean, they have a good pass rush, but I'm a little worried about the rest of that defense. I mean, they don't really have much. Miami, I don't really like their defense at all this year. Both of their pass rushers are not even healthy right now. Loss of their defensive coordinator and Vic Fangio. Jalen Ramsey already battling a hamstring injury. He might not even play. I've seen Dolphins fans that actually kind of makes me laugh. They've been calling for the Dolphins just to sit him, to have him healed up for the Thursday night game against us. I guess they're just so worried about us. They'd rather sit players so they will play against us. Kind of funny, but anyways. So yeah, he's already 29 per corner, battling a hamstring injury. Doesn't sound like it's going to end up very well. So yeah, give me the Dolphins 34-30. The next game, we got Houston and Indy. This should also be another good one.
I'm sorry. I think Indy starts this game out a little bit slow. I think they're going to lose 28-17. I think Houston's going to be the one that gets the job done. I think that this is going to be a very good game. Don't get me wrong. I think that Anthony Richardson shows some flashes in this one. I think he's going to do the job just fine. I'm kind of concerned with how their defense is going to hold up in the secondary against that amazing trio of receivers they're going to have at least. And so when that comes down to it, I think CJ Stroud has a good game. That offense is going to be nuts. And I think that the Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor duo are going to be forced to have to kind of throw the ball a little more and kind of get Richardson out of his comfort zone, force him to throw the ball a little more in a more of a run heavy offense with Shane Steichen. And I think that that's going to kind of lead them into a downward game, especially without Josh Downs. I don't think that Michael Pittman's going to be able to carry everything. And I don't like Adonai Mitchell to really come in and play insane either. So it's I do think that this is going to be a tough game for the Colts. It's just a matter of getting a really tough team in the division in week 1. I feel like the Colts are going to be just fine, but 28-17, they fall in this one.
Give me the Texans 27-24. I think Anthony Richardson does put the league on notice and has a really good game. I think he keeps it close. I think they just don't have the talent and they fall short. But I love this offense. Even without Josh Downs, I think these RPOs, the run game, I mean, there's not the only thing not to like is, Anthony Richardson hasn't played a lot. Yeah, he's inexperienced. He was inexperienced last year in the 4 games he played, and he still was putting up really good numbers. I mean, he should only get better as the offense around him has gotten better. I mean, Jonathan Taylor wasn't even healthy for those games. Now Jonathan Taylor's back and is healthy. You got Pittman. You have Adonai Mitchell. Yes, not having Josh Downs hurts, but I still think the receiving core, even without Josh Downs, is better than what he had at the beginning of last year. So, and Shane Steichen, I can't say enough good things about that dude. He is just an absolute mastermind. He's probably the second best offensive mind outside of the McVay Shanahan tree behind Andy Reid. He is a quarterback guru. I mean, he was with Herbert when he was coming up, then went to Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts almost won an MVP. Now comes in Anthony Richardson and got good quarterback play out of him and Gardner Minshew last year and almost made the playoffs. I don't understand why people think that they're going to be worse than 9-8, like, doesn't make no sense. So I think the offense will be just fine. A little worried about the defense and the star power that Houston has. So yeah, 27-24 Houston. Now we move into the 4:00 games. We have Dallas versus Cleveland.
Well, Tom Brady is going to be playing in his first, not playing, but announcing his first game. And I think this one's going to be a little bit more of a cliche. Dallas starts the year off right. I think they win 27-14. And yes, I do think it's that bad for the Browns offense. Yes, I love Kevin Stefanski. I think he can do great things. It's just without Nick Chubb, is Jerome Ford really going to be that good against a Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence defense? I don't think he's going to be able to run the ball that crazy. I do like their offensive line, but against Micah Parsons and Lawrence, are they really going to be able to run the ball so much and succeed like 90% of the time? I don't think so. And when this game inevitably gets out of hand for the Browns and they have to start throwing the ball, Deshaun Watson's going to get exposed against Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland. I don't think they're going to have a good game, sadly, for the Browns fans. I think Dallas starts the year out right. Dak and CD get going early and often, and I think they're going to win this one 27-14.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Dallas wins this game. I truly don't understand how Cleveland is favored in this game.
I saw that earlier. Yeah.
But give me Dallas 24-17. I think this game's a little bit closer just due to the fact that I think Cleveland's roster is a little more talented, but I think Dallas is better at the most important positions. I mean, pass rusher about even. Quarterback, though, Dallas has a huge advantage. Secondary, they have an advantage. Wide receiver, they have an advantage. Offensive line, I'd probably give it to Cleveland, but really the big thing is Dak and CeeDee Lamb is miles better than Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. And that offense Cleveland, I think that offense is going to be pretty bad. I'm not even a big Kevin Stefanski fan. I mean, he's probably better than Mike McCarthy, but offensive coaching, probably honestly similar. I do definitely give the edge to Jim Schwartz over Dallas defensive coordinator, but I just think that quarterback difference is just way too much to make up for. So yeah, 24-17 Dallas. And then the next game we have Denver versus Seattle.
This is my upset of the week. Highlight it, lock it in, 17-13. Denver takes home the win. I think something Sean Payton has longed for these last few years as a head coach of the Broncos is a quarterback that's capable of just doing the bare minimum, getting the ball out quickly, being able to get everybody else involved and use his skill position players. And that's something we need to see more of from this team. You got Javonte Williams coming off the ACL tear. You got a decent offensive line there. You got Cortland Sutton, who's a very solid receiver, in my opinion. You got Marvin Mims, who's on the up and coming for that offense. And Sean Payton, with all those tools, with a quarterback like Bo Nix, who's not going to be that guy who's going to be forcing everything. He's a very smart, intellectual man at Oregon. I do think he plays very well. I think he does just enough, really. And I think this is going to be one of the softer offenses they play. And yes, I mean that. I just don't think Geno Smith's going to be able to get the ball to a guy like DK Metcalf with Patrick Surtain draped all over him. Tyler Lockett was questionable for this game with a hamstring injury or something like that. And I don't think he's going to be at 100% and play insane football either. I just don't like the offensive outside of them. I think Kenneth Walker has a solid game, but once they inevitably stop the run and they force Geno Smith to throw the ball, it's game over. And realistically, I think that this is a very scary one for me. I do think that Denver could very well lose this game. I'm very iffy on who wins, but 17-13, a lower scoring battle. I think Denver pulls off the upset in week 1.
Yeah, I'm basically the opposite way of you. I think Seattle absolutely blows Denver out of the water. Denver is absolutely awful. I'll go 28-10. Seattle. I could even see it being even more of a blowout. Denver, I think, is terrible.
No way.
They have one Pro Bowl level player. I think. I mean, go by positions. Who's got the better quarterback? Seattle. Who's got the better running backs? I think Geno's better than Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is nuts, bro.
You're crazy. QB. Seattle. Running backs. Seattle. Wide receivers. Seattle. Offensive line. Seattle. Defensive line. Seattle. Linebackers, Seattle. Okay. Cornerbacks, Seattle. Safeties, Seattle. Coaching, Seattle. They beat them at every single position. Because even they can be like,
Seattle.
The Broncos have Pat Surtain, but the rest of that cornerback room sucks, and Seattle has Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon. So
right,
it's like
That's fair.
Seattle has them beat in every single position, and I think has the better coach. It just
Come back next Tuesday, folks.
I cannot see. Tuesday. I cannot. I give Seattle a 99% chance of winning this game. I think Denver is the worst team in the league. I think Denver absolutely sucks.
I think it's Carolina.
They are so bad. They have no talent. They are just absolutely terrible.
All right. Fair enough.
And then the final game to wrap up the 4 p.m.s, we have the Buccaneers taking on the Commanders.
Where's the Raiders Chargers?
I don't know why I didn't write that down, but we'll get to that next.
All right. Well, I'm going to start it off 24-17. The Bucs win this one. I think that that offense is going to be decent in this game. I don't like the Commanders defense that much. I've never been high on Jaden Daniels. Everybody that watched the draft night special with us knows that. I was very high on Drake May and not Jaden Daniels. I think he has a solid first game. I don't think the Bucs have an answer in the linebacking core to kind of keep him from running. I think he can kind of exploit that. I do like Levante David, yes, but he's more of a pass cover guy, and he's getting up there in age. He's slower than a Jaden Daniels. It's just I'm more concerned about the fact that Jaden Daniels is going to have a little bit of time to throw in this game. I think outside of Vita Vea, they don't really got a good D-line. I think that Kalijah Kancey could take a step this year. I mean, it's iffy. Who knows? But realistically, I have to wait and see it to believe it for him. I do think that the line got a little bit better in the offseason. Sam Cosmi's definitely a guy that I like on the tackle spot. So we'll see how their season goes in that regard. I think that for this game, though, specifically, they're not going to have enough on the offensive side. They just traded Jahan Dotson, which was a mind-boggling move. I think McLaurin does have a big day, too, considering they lost Carlton Davis to the Lions, who, for whatever reason, they just traded him to him. I don't know why. They're just bad management there, but either way, I don't think that they're going to be able to hang with them outside of Antoine Winfield. I'm not sure if anyone can stop McLaurin in the secondary. So I think they'll be able to stay, but I think the Bucs inevitably win due to their run game. I just don't know if Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen are going to be able to start off the season the way they started last year. I think Jonathan Allen's not going to have as great of a year. And then Daron Payne is injured for this game. He is going to play, but I mean, how good is he going to do?
Yeah, give me the Bucs, but in a blowout. Give me them 27-13. Yeah. You're low on Jane Daniels. Yeah, you're low on Jane Daniels. I'm even lower.
I'm here. He's here.
Yes. He's Justin Fields 2.0, and Justin Fields sucked his rookie year. He's very accurate, can make some throws, but as soon as any pressure gets in his face, he's just terrible.
It's over.
In college, I remember seeing like this graph. It showed of like all of like the draftable quarterbacks, like when they got like pressure in their face, like the percentage of like off percentage throws, turnover worthy plays, how often they ran. And like Jane Daniels was like number one for how often they ran, but like dead last in accuracy, number one in like turnover worthy percentage, like how bad it was. Like the only reason his numbers were so good in college is because a lot of times if he did win, he was just more athletic than every single player because it was college. And he also had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. to just chuck it up to. So
it's almost like they ran like a four verts offense. Everybody runs down the field and he just takes off if they're not open.
Yeah, exactly.
And like everybody's 10 yards downfield at least. So it's like he's just got
so I mean, I do like the connection with Terry McLaurin and Jane Daniels. I think he'll be able to hit him a couple times. I think McLaurin gets the touchdown they score. But I just don't really like that offense against a Bucs defense that has players like Vita Vea. I expect a jump from Kalijah Kancey. Antoine Winfield's a stud. Levante David's a stud. They have some dogs over there. And then for the Bucs side of the ball, the Commanders defense absolutely sucks. I think Baker Mayfield's going to be able to have his way throwing the ball all up and down that Commanders secondary with Mike Evans, Godwin, and Jalen McMillan. He has shown a lot in camp, so I really like that passing attack against the Commanders. So yeah, 27-13. Next, the game I forgot to write down. We got the Chargers versus the Raiders.
Ooh. I mean, I might get a little bit of flack for this, but I'm going Raiders. I'm sorry. I think that Jim Harbaugh's debut gets spoiled by an injured Justin Herbert. I think that his ankle injury and stuff like that he's been dealing with, I think it's going to become a decent issue for this week 1 game, similar to how Burrow started off slow last year with the finger issue. I do think that it very well could happen to Herbert here. I think his lack of mobility is going to cost him in this game, especially against a team that I think has an insane D-line now with Wilkins and Crosby. And if Tyree Wilson takes that next step, him as well. You got Divine Diablo in the middle of the field there with Alex Highsmith and Robert Spillane. Like, I just don't see him being able to kind of run and get away from that kind of a pass rush. So if that happens and the pressure gets to them, I don't think they're going to be able to throw the ball as well. And then I understand it's probably going to be a run-heavy first offense, and that just leads me to my point. Those same players that I just mentioned are not going to be like their day's not going to get ruined by J.K. Dobbins, bro. Like it's just not happening. A lackluster line outside of Rashawn Slater, in my opinion. Corey Linsley retires. Like I don't know like where they're going to win this game at. I think that John Harbaugh is an amazing head coach. Jim Harbaugh, sorry, is an amazing head coach. I just don't know if he's going to have that kind of a game in week one. I think they'll be fine. Don't get me wrong, but for week ones with that Herbert injury, I'm leaning them. In my other prediction video, I was thinking it's going to come down to who has the better quarterback. And yes, I think the Chargers do by an absolute mile here against Minshew, as much as I like Minshew. But with the injury lingering, I'm not sure how he'll play. So I will lean Raiders 20-17.
I'm just surprised that you said the Chargers have a bad offensive line. Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are bad to you?
No, I'm saying interior.
Oh, okay. I can see that, but I was gonna say no. They
no,
might
the
have the
outside.
best
The tackles are fine. The tackles are completely fine. It's the interior that I'm terrified of.
That's
Christian Wilkins is gonna eat all night, bro.
Give me though the Chargers 20-17 because they, as you mentioned, they have the miles better quarterback. Even though Herbert's been battling an injury, I think he's fine. And yeah, I just think that the quarterback play is so much better, and I think the Chargers defense will be a little bit better this year. With Jim Harbaugh coaching. I mean, they still got players like Nick Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr., Joey Bosa. Shut up. They still have some dogs over there. I think Jim Harbaugh will be able to get a respectable unit out of there just because the only reason the defense looks so bad is because they had morons coaching and Jim Harbaugh.
They got Derwin James too in the secondary. I'm surprised he didn't mention
exactly. No, I did. I mentioned his name.
Oh, okay. That's my fault.
Yeah. So give me 20-17. I think the Raiders. I think both of these teams are both underrated. I just think the Chargers are a little bit better. But let's move on to the Sunday night game where Matthew Stafford is playing his second straight game in a row in Detroit. If you include the wild card loss they had to him last year, he's going back to Ford Field again as the Rams take on the Lions.
Actually, he played in the preseason, so no, I'm kidding. But anyway. 31-23, I think the Lions are going to get this one done. I love the Rams. I think they'll have a great season. It's just Detroit made so many moves in the offseason. I think this is the year where they can finally put it all together for a potential Super Bowl run. I really like the additions of Terrion Arnold and Carlton Davis for the secondary, one thing they really lacked. And then they literally went out and got a better version of Aleem McNeil when he left, and DJ Reader. I don't think the Lions did anything wrong this offseason. They had a very, very good offseason. And that's not to shy away from how good the Rams are. It's just to say how good the Lions are. I think this game is going to be very good, high-scoring game, 31-23. I do think that this game is going to come down to which team can stop them more, and I'm very confident in the Lions. I'm iffy on if the Rams can, especially after the trade of Ernest Jones. Who do they really got in the secondary? It's a lot of issues. I do like Braden Fisk and Jared Verse for the D-line. And Byron Young is coming back as well as a second-year player now. So I do think that they'll be okay. But against the Lions week one, it's just I find it hard to pick them in this game.
Yeah. Well, you said the Lions did nothing wrong, and I actually do think they did something wrong this offseason, but it's not something that's going to hurt them this year. It's something that's going to hurt them in the future. I think giving Jared Goff all that money was a huge mistake, but that's for another video.
Yeah,
but give me the Lions 30-27 in a high-scoring game. I mean, both of these offenses are absolutely electric. I think it comes down. I think the Rams have the better quarterback and the better coaching staff. I think it comes down to the gap in defense, really. I think their offenses are pretty close. I just think the Lions have probably an above-average defense, and the Rams are going to have a below-average defense. And the Lions defense probably about the 10-15 range. The Rams defense probably about the, I would say 18 to 23 range. And I think that gap is just going to be why, and the Lions being at home. So I think they take care of this one. And what I think is going to be the game of the week, right. I'm extremely excited to see this game. Moving on to the Monday night, the final game of week one, we have Aaron Rodgers return. If hopefully he can play more than 4 snaps going against his, I guess you could say, arch nemesis based on last year's Monday night in Leonard Floyd. Who do you think in the 49ers? Who do you think wins this game?
Well, I don't think anybody wins. I think the prediction here is Leonard Floyd completely shatters Tyron Smith's ankle, and then he shatters the other Achilles of Aaron Rodgers. 5 plays in this time, not 4 or 5. Anyway, to be honest with you, I do think the Niners win this one in a close one, 21-16. I think it could even be lower. I think these two offenses are still very good. It's such good defensive play. I think it's going to be like a punt fest, a snooze fest, if you will, in the first half. But it's my game of the week. I mean, Alex told me I had to pick a different game, so yeah, I guess this is my game. Whatever. I do like this game, though. I think it's going to be fun for the storyline side of things. These are two teams that are going to be in the mix at the end of the season, in my opinion. And I do like the 49ers in this one, in a close one, 21-16. I just think Aaron Rodgers is not going to have as good of a game as people are thinking he's going to have. I think they'll be fine. But which offense is better to me? And it's got to be Christian McCaffrey and the Niners by a mile here, with Ayuk back, with Samuel still, with Kittle. Like, that offensive line, like, there's no way I can go against that in week 1, even though the Jets defense is very solid.
Yeah, give me also the Niners 21-17 over the Jets. I just think, I mean, their defenses are probably about the same, so I think it's gonna be a lower scoring game. To me, it comes down, the biggest key, I think, is coaching. I think the Niners are a much better coach team than the Jets. And the Jets haven't proven that they can have a good offense. There's a lot of hypothetical. Well, if we can just get better quarterback play than Zach Wilson, well, if Rodgers is just at least decent, yes, it's all if
Let him cook.
well. But it could be where Nathaniel Hackett is just that much of a moron and it doesn't matter. And that is very possible because Nathaniel Hackett is a moron. He can't call plays. As a Bills fan, I know for a fact, I remember him being my offensive coordinator for 2 years, and it was like watching paint dry. He was terrible. And then you saw the disaster in Denver. The only reason he's the offensive coordinator there is because Rodgers is buddy with him. It's
right.
Coaching's bad. Rodgers is 40 years old, coming off a torn Achilles. The O-line, it looks on paper like it could be good, but we're not sure. The only real
is Tyron Smith going to lose a step. Yeah.
The only real receiver on that team we know is a stud is Garrett Wilson. Mike Williams, we don't know because he can't stay healthy. And then after that, it's a rookie Malachi Corley. Breece Hall is a stud. Tight end room's questionable. They just have so many question marks on the offensive side and the coaching. So give me the Niners, who don't really have many of those question marks. But I think the Jets defense is so good, they will be able to keep themselves in the game. So yes, 21-17 Niners. I will be going back and I'm going to look through, write down, like, I think on Monday I'll rewatch this and I'll keep a tally what our records are, like game picks, and we'll just add them up throughout the year to see who wins. We're doing that on the Shot Clock show, so I figured might as well do it here just for fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hopefully I go 16-0, so my 16 leg parlay hits and I win $23,000. That would be pretty dope.
You'll never see Alex again, guys. In other words, this podcast will be just mine. You'll buy some other YouTube channel.
Hopefully that'll happen. Obviously it won't, but we can always hope and pray. But anyways, it was great talking to you. Week 1's upon us. I love football season. It's the best. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you like and subscribe so we can grow this podcast out to more people. Please subscribe. Please share. I hope you guys all have a great night. It was great talking to you all.